Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. My salutations to the Sadguru, the enlightened Master who bestows upon us the highest wisdom, the teaching of Atma Gnana that liberates us from all bondage and suffering. My pranams to all. Let us continue our conversation, our contemplation on the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. From today, we'll start the chapters, the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. So in each video will be an overview of one chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Today we'll start with the overview of the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, meaning the great depression of Arjuna, Arjuna's depression. The Bhagavad Gita starts with depression. So depression is not something new. It's been there from over 5,000 years ago when the Mahabharata happened. So what is the cause for Arjuna's depression, and how does this whole discussion start? Why does it start? And what does the first chapter have to say is what we look at. The first, and we'll take up one shloka from each chapter and try to get an overview of the entire chapter. In the first chapter, I've chosen the first shloka. The first shloka goes, it starts with Dhritarashtra Vacha, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra Vacha. The king Dhritarashtra said. It starts with what King Dhritarashtra said. Dhritarashtra is the father of the Kauravas. The Kauravas are the villains, the bad guys. They are 100 brothers, and they have caused the war. They they're ruling in a demonic way. They're unjust. And the Pandavas are the good guys. There are 5 Pandavas. Arjuna is one of them. And Arjuna's charioteer is Sri Krishna. So Dhritarashtra is in the palace. The armies, the Pandava army and the Kaurava army, along with the Pandavas and Kauravas, have gathered on the Kurukshetra battlefield, facing each other. The war has not yet begun. And before the war starts, Dhritarashtra, who is in the palace, is asking his minister Sanjaya to give him a commentary of what is happening in the battlefield. Sanjaya has been given Divya Drishti, the ability to see what is happening on the battlefield. The ability is given by Sadguru Vedivyasa Maharshi. He can sit in the palace and see what is happening on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So Dhritarashtra is asking, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. We have to understand this very auspicious beginning. The beginning is always auspicious. It starts with Dharma Kshetre. Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. It doesn't say Kurukshetre Dharma Kshetre. It is referring to a Kshetra. Kshetra means field. Field is something where we sow something and something grows. Now, if you sow a particular seed, depending on the nature of that seed, depending on the contents of that seed, it will take its direction. The first seed that is sown is Dharma Kshetra. This existence is Dharma Kshetra, or any place for that matter, is Dharma Kshetra. This world is Dharma Kshetra, meaning a Kshetra where we sow the seed of Dharma, where we sow seeds of righteousness, peace, compassion, self-realization, and we reap those seeds. But it becomes a Kurukshetra because of the ignorance of people. And what is the cause of ignorance? It's right there, which is Dhritarashtra, the blindness, the blind king, the blindness to the knowledge of your true self, the blindness to the consciousness, the disrespecting of the scriptures, the teaching of the enlightened ones, or the the moving away from universal principles. All this causes the blindness, and this blindness is also various types of programmings that we have based on where we are born, who has brought us up, based out on our environment that we were brought up in. All this sort of blinds us in a way and takes us far away from our true nature, and that eventually makes wherever we are a Kurukshetra, meaning a battlefield, either an outer battle in a worst case scenario or a perpetual inner battle. There's a perpetual inner battle going on between us. There is conflicting thoughts, conflicting ideas, depression, disturbance, stress. All this are the battles that we are fighting. So we are sort of fighting a battle every day. We're fighting a battle to get out of the house and go to our workplace. The workplace itself is such a stressful environment. There is this whole burden of finances, relationships, various things. So different people have different problems. For somebody, health is a major problem. They're fighting battles to, defeat a disease. So there's a whole spectrum, and there's different things that bothers us and that makes us suffer. But the battle continues, regardless of who it is. The battle goes on, and the world at large is also subject to wars, like it's happening right now in the case of the Kurukshetra war in the context of the Bhagavad Gita. So there is a war going on the battlefield, which is addressed as Dharma Kshetra. Even the battle, even the war can be fought as out of hate and aggression, or with an attitude of dharma. That is what Sri Krishna is trying to bring to Arjuna later on. He's trying to convert the Kurukshetra into Dharma Kshetra without having to run away from the Kurukshetra. Be in the Kurukshetra and perform your dharma with the clarity of who you are and the world and God, Bhagwan, or consciousness. Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. Either you sow the seeds of dharma or you sow the seed of karma. The Kurukshetra is also refers to Karma Kshetra. You either are in a cycle of karma, which is you do some deeds with a strong notion that I am the doer. You do some good deeds, you do some bad deeds, and you reap the fruits. Or you shift from that cycle and tune yourself to the universal principles, which is called as dharma. Dharma is the universal principles that protect, nourish, and uplift the world. So you tune yourself to that, wherein you become free from the karmic impressions. So you become free from the cycle of karma. So what should do can either keep you bound or can free you. So which path are you taking? Are you taking the path of dharma or are you taking the path of karma? And the karma will eventually lead to Kurukshetra. Dharma will eventually lead to mukti, moksha. So this is the starting subtle message. Dharma kshetre, Kurukshetre. Samaveta Yuyutsava means Samaveta is to gather, Yuyutsava to fight. Dhritarashtra is asking, Mamaka, my children, and Pandavas have gathered to fight on the battlefield. Samaveta Yutsava. Kim akurvata Sanjaya. What are they doing now, Sanjaya? is the first shloka. But what is the real meaning? What is the significance of the shloka? Is the first message is dharma. Dharma is the message of the Bhagavad Gita. It is the Dharma Gita. To teach us, the 18th chapter also subtly teaches us what is dharma. Dharma cannot be told in a one single definition sentence that this is dharma. Dharma is so closely connected to consciousness. To understand both consciousness and to understand what is dharma, so that there is absolute clarity on how to operate in this world, free from becoming free from karmic impressions and becoming free from the guilt, the stress, to act in such a way which is beneficial to us and all around us and the world at large. So, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetra. So, we need to look at our lives right now. Is it a Dharma Kshetra or is it a Kurukshetra? Nobody wants a Kurukshetra. Nobody wants their life to be a battle, a war, wherein you lose so much. You're constantly in a mode of fight and flight, fear, anxiety. At any moment of time, something can happen to me. It's living like an animal, a wild animal. But as a human being, to be a human being is to be so blessed that you can understand yourself, you can know your true self, become free from this internal Kurukshetra, mainly internal Kurukshetra, and be in a state of dharma, peace, and operate with compassion and relate to the world in a very meaningful way. This is the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, and it's also that not the Bhagavad Gita is said by somebody is not out of this kshetra. Sri Krishna himself is within that Kurukshetra. He's standing in the battlefield and giving the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita and trying to shift the attitude of Arjuna from karma to dharma, and through dharma, by understanding dharma, putting him in the path of moksha, self-realization. And the first chapter is a beautiful start. It starts with the depression of Arjuna. Depression is a blessing. It is what gave us the Bhagavad Gita. So the adverse situations, or the trauma that comes in our lives, we can either look it as a curse or we can look at it as a blessing. When you take up the attitude that, oh, this is happening to me, how do I become free from it? Then it becomes a blessing. You start seeking a way out of it, without which you probably would not have thought of Atmagnana, enlightenment, or a higher spiritual seeking. The suffering that comes in our life is there to push us in the direction of moksha, liberation. Success eventually makes us proud. It is failure that truly brings internal growth and transformation. One who hasn't failed is not really successful. It's just superficial. You continue to live a life at a very superficial level. Arjuna has now broken down by looking at the other army, which has his relatives, his cousins, his brothers, his teachers, and now he has to perform his duty. He has to fight against them for the betterment of the world, to eliminate them so that the world is peaceful. But looking at who he has to fight and the attachment that he has to them, he is possessed with great depression. He becomes suicidal. He has suicidal thoughts. He makes suicidal statements, and he wants to escape the situation. He wants to run away. And Sri Krishna sees this. Sri Krishna is actually, he looks at him, and now he sees that this is a very ripe moment to give this teaching, because in the second chapter, as the second chapter begins, Arjuna seeks, he asks Sri Krishna, please, I don't see any way. Please teach me what is right, what is wrong, what is the best thing to do. I am your disciple. Please take me as your student and teach me. That is when the Bhagavad Gita actually begins. The teaching of Sri Krishna begins from the second chapter after Arjuna says these things and asks Sri Krishna. But the first chapter, to give you just an overview, is the vomiting of Arjuna. Arjuna goes on describing his depression, why he's depressed, what he has to do, what are the kind of thoughts that he's having. If somebody were to read it, they'll probably relate to the same kind of thoughts that you would have when you were in a disturbed state. The message is that this disturbance is a great blessing, and it disillusions us in many ways and starts a deeper work within us, which is really fruitful. Otherwise, we live a very superficial life. To move from the superficial to a deeper level, we use this depression as a step and cross over it. This is the first chapter, an overview of the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna Vishada Yoga. The message is Dharma and freedom from karma. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.